Yo, 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 gonna run that back, Turbo.
Yo. Welcome back to Butts Talk. Once again, we find ourselves in a week of college football riddled by COVID cancellations and postponements. So, I'm going to try my best here to make this exciting as possible, even with the lack of good games this weekend. Last weekend, obviously, we saw, I believe, 15 cancellations or postponements due to COVID-19. We look ahead now to tomorrow's games in Week 12, and it's slightly better than this week, or slightly better than last week, rather, but still, the slate is not what we're used to. We'll get right into it. Anyway, this is another episode of Butts Talk. I am Nick Butts, nonetheless, still Nick Butts. Without a guest spot today, I'm flying solo. We're doing the show from Bluffton, South Carolina this afternoon. So we're going to move right into it. Trevor Lawrence is back from his COVID-19 hiatus. As Clemson travels down to Tallahassee to take on the Noles. Clemson favored by 35.5. You would think that they'd probably cover because Florida State sucks at football. Florida State is an absolutely abysmal football team, an absolutely sorry program. They're 2-6. 2-6. 1-6 in the ACC. How do you lose? How do you lose 6 games in the ACC? Yeah. Florida State is so bad. They are so bad at football. I don't know what happened because you look at 2013, arguably the best college football team ever, Florida State national champion. 2014, they made the playoff, decent, shaved points that year all year, but whatever. 2015, they were still solid, and then 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and now 2020. It's been pretty much abysmal for Florida State. I don't know what happened. Jimbo Fisher got out of there at the right effing time, I'll tell you what. Dang, man. Keeping it in the South, though. The Georgia Bulldogs take on the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Tell you what, Mississippi State has been a very disappointing team to me this season. They're 2-4, and after that win against LSU, granted LSU sucks, but after that win against LSU, I thought, okay, maybe this Mississippi State offense is really going to challenge some teams. No, they have not. Georgia, granted, also very disappointing, but Georgia's, they've been given 25 points. They're a 25-point favorite. If you look at Georgia's offense this year, which, you know, the past 2 shows, you know, that's been my pet peeve this year, has been Georgia's offense, and to even think that they'd score 25 points is almost absurd in itself. But the fact that they've been given 25 points, they're favored by 25. The over-under is 44.5. So that's very low for such a high spread. But finally, Kirby Smart has gotten up off his lazy ass, and he said, hey, you know what? Maybe we'll actually win a football game comfortably if I put in a competent quarterback. And lo and behold, ladies and gentlemen, JT Daniels is finally getting that well-deserved start this week against Mississippi State. So, dogs by 25, hammer it! Yes, JT Daniels is the truth, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, I don't know if anyone watched him at USC his freshman year. I believe they only went 5-7, but they were abysmal on defense. He didn't have too much in the way of weapons. But JT Daniels is a baller, ladies and gentlemen. Trust me, okay? I have complete faith that JT Daniels can turn around this Georgia offense and maybe propel them to what might end up being a successful season if they look back upon it, and hopefully hopefully he can build something into next year where Georgia can just be a offensive juggernaut. That's what I'm hoping. Anyway, game of the week, really I believe so 2 big games in the Big Ten, and that's really the headliner. I mean, because last week we had no good games, no good matchups whatsoever. This weekend, however, we've got there's 4 undefeated teams in the Big Ten, and they're all playing each other this week. So we got number 9 Indiana at number 3 Ohio State, and then number 10 Wisconsin at number 19 Northwestern. So we'll talk about Indiana Ohio State first. Noon kickoff. Now the big conversation around the country this week and on college football Twitter has been, will Indiana cover the spread? Is the 21-point spread in the favor of Ohio State too generous? Or, I mean, is it too high, rather? A lot of people are saying, oh, Indiana, they haven't played anyone. Their opponents are combined 1 and whatever. But 4-0 is 4-0. And if you look outside of the Penn State game, if you look at the way that they've beaten teams, they've handled them pretty well. So it's not, I don't think Indiana's a slouch by any means. However, they are playing arguably the best team in the country, Ohio State. So you got to think, okay, they're probably not going to be able to stop Justin Fields. It's very hard to stop Justin Fields. I mean, you know, Clemson was the only team that's really been able to even come close to slowing him down, and really that wasn't on him as to why they lost to Clemson. But anyway, Ohio State is not going to be stopped on offense. Justin Fields is just too good. He's too good of a football player to be stopped. So I think Ohio State is going to put up a lot of points on Indiana, but I think Indiana will also put up a lot of points on Ohio State. I would expect like a 47-28 type game. So do I think it'll be close? Maybe for a little bit in the first half, but I think that eventually Ohio State, they just have pure raw talent on their team, as opposed to Indiana, who is very well coached, and they are very talented, but I just do not think that they are quite on that level of Ohio State, and not many teams are. Not many teams are. Really, only about 3 or 4 teams, if that, in the country are on Ohio State's level. So I think even if Indiana at the least puts up a fight, it's respectable. I mean, even if they get blown out by Ohio State, it's still respectable. I think Indiana is still a good football team. They're just not at Ohio State's level. Will I give Ohio State 21 points? Maybe. I mean, I said 47-28, but that's not exactly a score prediction. That's just kind of where I think the game might go, that type of game, you know. But I don't know. I mean, to win by 3 touchdowns isn't the most unrealistic thing I've ever heard, but I wouldn't mind seeing Indiana get maybe a little backdoor cover there. I mean, it's going to be a very interesting game to watch regardless, so I'm very excited for that one. So then later in the day, obviously, Indiana, Ohio State's at noon. Wisconsin, Northwestern at 3:30. So you got back-to-back huge Big Ten games. So Wisconsin's 2-0. Obviously, they had a couple of games canceled due to COVID outbreak within their program. Still very good. They've looked pretty good within their first 2 games. And then you got Northwestern, who won 3 games last year, and this year have already won 4. So they're 4-0, and it's kind of a shocker. I mean, they have looked inspired, to say the least. Their coach, Pat Fitzgerald, he knows how to juice his guys up. So I'm excited. I'm very excited for this game. It would be cool to see Northwestern pull off this upset. They're at home, granted, with no fans. It doesn't really have as big of an effect as it usually would. But, you know, they're still playing on their home field, Ryan Field. It's a historic site. it's going to be I think this will be a classic Big Ten, what you would expect from a Wisconsin-Northwestern game. I think we're going to see some great defense, but I think that Wisconsin will probably ultimately make plays on offense in crunch time when it matters. They're only given 7.5 points. Wisconsin is they're only favored by a touchdown. But I think Graham Mertz, young freshman for Wisconsin, he is the truth. So I'd expect Wisconsin to go in there and take care of business, but I think it'll be a very entertaining defensive battle nonetheless. A couple other good games around the country. App State and Coastal Carolina, which they're both undefeated in the Sun Belt. Coastal, 7-0 overall, number 15 in the country. So I think we're going to see a very exciting game in Conway, South Carolina, on that teal turf between the Mountaineers and the Chanticleers. BYU looks to stay undefeated and move their record to 9-0 against North Alabama. So basically, BYU is already 9-0. And then a big one in the American, the 7th-ranked Cincinnati Bearcats put their 7-0 record and playoff hopes on the line at the UCF Knights, who are 5-2, 4-2 in the conference. So they're not bad by any means. It's still a very electric offense. If you look at Dylan Gabriel, he's thrown for almost 3,000 yards this season, 23 touchdowns. So Cincinnati only favored by 6 going into the bounce house. It's going to be 80 degrees down in Orlando Saturday afternoon. So I think that you guys might want to watch this one. This one might fly under the radar a little bit, but it's 3:30 ESPN, nationally televised. This is going to be a very entertaining football game. Over under 64, so expect some points. I really would like to see Cincinnati get the win here and keep their playoff hopes alive, though. Because I feel like this is the year that a group of 5 team can make it. So Oregon Ducks. 2-0. I don't know if you guys saw their new uniforms that they're debuting this week against UCLA, but this is an interesting game. It's interesting to see what these Pac-12 teams, if they can make any noise, disruption in the playoff race, because Oregon's 2-0. So if they can improve to 3-0, then they're on track to finish the season undefeated and maybe just crack the top 4. That game's at 3:30. Oregon's given 17, so. Alabama's back after 2 weeks off against Kentucky. Wouldn't be too worried about that one. And then, primetime game of the week, Bedlam. Oklahoma State, number 14, 5-1. Number 18, Oklahoma at 5-2. If this is the year that Oklahoma State's going to beat them, it's going to be this year. Or if there was ever a year, because obviously the Sooners are a bit down this year. They lost 2 games in kind of fluky fashion, so I wouldn't underestimate them. Spencer Rattler seems to still be playing well despite making several key mistakes early in the season that led to those losses. But this should be a very fun game to watch. OU is actually favored by 7. It's at OU. So stay tuned for this one. And then number 21, Liberty, puts their 8-0 record on the line at North Carolina State. So they get another ACC team. It's going to be very entertaining. And then, finally, number 20, USC Trojans put their 2-0 record on the line at Utah, who has not played a game yet this year. So, the slate's a little bit better this week. Unfortunately, Ole Miss, Texas A&M got canceled, which was actually one game I was really looking forward to. We would have seen a lot of points. Or, rather, it got postponed. So, we'll see it later in the season, hopefully. But, I'm going to start wrapping things up here. I guess I'll end it how I typically do with my Heisman front runner. And at this point, you got to still go with Mac Jones. But shoot, man, if Justin Fields keeps playing on point like he has been, then that Heisman is his, no doubt. I unfortunately think Trevor Lawrence has lost it due to Heisman, or excuse me, due to COVID. But if he continues to play at a high level the next few weeks, then maybe he can talk himself back in there. Oh, yeah, and also Kyle Trask. Who knows? He could win it. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back hopefully next week. This has been Butts Talk. I am Nick Butts. See you later.